Look at this leaf. You fed them heavy nitrogen and drenched the roots. Now the top leaves shine like patent leather and stick straight up. That is your warning sign right there. But you are probably not worried. You think the plant is happy, strong, soaking up all that good food you gave it. That glossy dark green is exactly what you wanted to see. I have been there. I looked at those thick, fleshy stems and thought I had cracked the code. More food means more tomatoes. That is basic logic. Except the logic is backward. See how the leaf blades curl upward along the edges, like little cups holding air. And the stalks are thick, spongy almost, not firm and crisp like they should be. That texture is your first clue. Now look closer at the flowers, those little yellow clusters you have been waiting for. Take a real look. In some gardens, the stems behind the flowers become weak and brittle, and the blooms drop before fruit can form. No fruit set, nothing forming behind the blossom. The plant keeps making more leaves, more branches. It is growing like bamboo, but the flowers are empty and falling. What you did made sense. You mixed up a good dose of complete fertilizer. Maybe it was a liquid. Maybe you worked in granules. But it had that big first number on the bag, that nitrogen number. You watered it in to get it down to the roots fast. You wanted explosive growth. You got explosive growth. Too much of it. Here is what is actually happening inside that plant. Nitrogen is a powerful growth driver. When there is too much of it, the plant focuses on leaves and stems instead of flowers and fruit. The growth signals become so heavily weighted toward green growth that flowering often gets pushed into the background. The plant has all the energy it needs, but it is so focused on putting that energy into leaves that it forgets to make flowers. It is stuck in an endless green loop. You have accidentally turned your tomato into a leafy houseplant, a monster plant with no purpose but to take up space on your trellis. Some gardeners call it overgrowth. Others call it a plant that has gone all in on leaves instead of fruit. But the name does not matter. What matters is that you have a window. How long it lasts depends on the variety and the weather. Catch it early, and most plants can still recover before those flower clusters are lost. If you do not break this cycle in time, those flowers will keep aborting. The plant will keep stretching and eating space, and you will end up with a jungle of green stems and nothing to pick. I have grown that jungle. It is a humiliating thing to harvest 6 tomatoes off a 6-foot plant you babied for months. So here's the move. First thing tomorrow morning, you reduce watering significantly. Cut it back to maybe half of what you have been giving. And let the soil dry out more than usual between waterings. Not bone dry, just dry enough that the top 2 inches of soil feel dry to the touch. When the soil dries, the root system pulls back. It slows down uptake. The plant stops drinking nitrogen so aggressively. That alone will shift the balance. How much you reduce depends on your setup. If you are growing in containers, they dry out fast. You might water every 3rd day instead of every day. If you are in the ground with heavy soil, you might go 5 or 6 days before giving anything. If you are in sandy soil or extreme heat, you need to be more careful. You are not trying to kill the plant. You are trying to slow it down. The leaf texture tells you the truth. In many cases, a slight loss of gloss and a more relaxed leaf posture are signs that growth is beginning to rebalance. If they wilt hard and flop over, you went too far. Back off and give a light drink. While the soil is drying, you are going to feed the plant a different way. Through the leaves. You need a foliar spray of monopotassium phosphate. This is a straight shot of phosphorus and potassium with no nitrogen. None. 0. It delivers those nutrients directly through the foliage rather than relying entirely on root uptake. The plant receives additional phosphorus and potassium that can help support flowering. It can help encourage the plant to shift more energy toward flowering and fruit production. Always follow the label on your product before mixing. Concentrations vary. Some formulations are liquid and ready to dilute at a specific rate. Others are powder. Some gardeners use rates around 15 grams per gallon with certain powdered products. But formulations vary widely. If your bag or bottle says a different rate, follow that. The number you see online is a suggestion based on a specific product. The exact product you have might be weaker or stronger. Spray it on the leaves in the evening. Evening applications are often preferred because temperatures are lower and the leaves stay wet longer. If the weather forecast says bright, hot sun the next morning, skip the spray. Foliar feeding on a hot day can burn the leaves. The droplets act like little magnifying glasses. You will see crispy brown spots where the spray sat. That is not helpful. Check the forecast. Spray only on evenings where you know the next morning will be at least partly cloudy, or you can give the plants some temporary shade. If the product label allows repeat applications, you can consider a second spray a few days later. Now you have one more tool, that top of the plant, the tip where all the new growth is pushing out. That is the engine of the vegetative drift. It is producing hormones that keep the whole plant in leaf-making mode. You can pinch it off. Just the top 2 inches, the growing point, right above the highest flower cluster that still looks alive. But this step depends on your plant type. If you are growing indeterminate tomatoes, the ones that keep growing taller and taller, pinching the tip can help redirect energy. It stops that upward drive. It sends the message to slow down and move energy sideways into the flowers. Many indeterminate growers do this regularly anyway to manage plant size. If you are growing determinate tomatoes, the bush types that stop growing at a certain height, pinching the top is riskier. They have a fixed number of flowers built in. Removing the growing point might cut off the last wave of fruit. So on determinate varieties, skip the pinch. Focus on the water reduction and the foliar feed. That is enough. And if you are not sure which type you have, look at the tag. If it says determinate bush or patio, do not pinch. If it says indeterminate, vine, or stake needed, you can pinch. For indeterminate plants that you decide to pinch, it feels wrong to cut a healthy stem. But you are not removing life. You are redirecting it. When you take off the main tip, the plant stops sending energy straight up. The existing leaves stay, the stems stay, but the drive to make new leaves fades. And all that energy you thought was wasted starts moving sideways into the flower clusters. Now here's the tough part. You will not see change tomorrow. The plant might look worse before it looks better. The older leaves might start yellowing as the plant pulls nitrogen out of them to balance itself. That is not a failure. That is the plant finally using its stored resources instead of demanding new food from the soil. Over the next several days, start watching the top leaves closely. If they have stopped pointing straight up, if the gloss is fading, if the edges start rolling downward, that is your green light. That means the vegetative drive has broken. The plant is finally starting to shift its energy back toward flowering and fruit production. When you see that droop, you can resume a normal watering schedule. Not heavy, just enough to keep the soil consistently moist. You want to keep the roots stable and not flood them back into nitrogen mode. And after some days, you will start to see tiny green tomatoes forming behind the flowers that survived. The ones that were not too far gone. How long that takes depends on temperature and sunlight. In the heat of July, you might see fruit set in a week. In cooler spring weather, it might stretch to 2 weeks. Watch the flowers. If you see the little green nub behind a wilted blossom, you have won. This method works because it addresses the imbalance at the source. It helps shift the plant back toward a better balance between growth and fruit production. It is not about feeding more. It is about feeding smarter and at the right time. Most growers I know make this mistake exactly once. After that, they never look at a glossy leaf the same way again. If you want to avoid this next season, change your preseason soil preparation. Work phosphorus into the ground before planting. Bone meal and soft rock phosphate can provide a longer-term source of phosphorus that becomes available gradually over the season. That phosphorus can help provide a margin of safety if you ever get a little heavy-handed with nitrogen. But that is for next year. Right now, you have a jungle to tame. Go outside. Look at your plants again. The leaf texture will tell you if you are late or if you caught it early. Those upturned glossy leaves are your warning. And the flowers. Always check the flowers first. If they are dry and brittle, the clock is ticking. If they are still holding green, you still have time to turn this around. When you fix this and those green tomatoes start swelling, you will feel the relief. That moment when you realize the harvest is back, that the plant is working for you again instead of just taking up your time. That is what good growing feels like. No lectures, no charts, just one big mistake corrected before it kills your season. If this helps you save your plants right now, click that like button. It keeps this channel visible so more growers can find this before their tomatoes go the same way. And drop a comment. Tell me how long ago you fed that nitrogen and what variety you are growing. I will read them. I will help you figure out what stage your plants may be in. If you want more of these rescue protocols, hit subscribe. There is always a new way to lose a plant, and I will show you how to bring it back before you lose the whole season.